Welcome to Girl Dad Nation. In this episode, I welcome Kevin McCarty of the McCarty family. You may have seen them on YouTube or social media with their comedy videos starring the whole family. It was a great conversation about inspiring creativity and prioritizing what matters. Let's get to it. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. And I love your content. I love that you create videos with your family. It's super creative. It's spooky, as you've mentioned before. And you involve your whole family. You get your kids acting, having fun, laughing a ton. And you've grown a huge following. So I think last I saw was 9 million on YouTube. By the time this comes out, it might be 10. But
I hope so.
But yeah, it's great. So welcome, and just tell me a little bit about how you got into this channel, the McCarty family, and all of that.
Yeah, it was never something that I specifically set out to say, oh, I want to be a YouTuber or I want to do this social media influence thing. And actually, for 15 years prior to all this, I was a teacher and I taught 12th grade government and economics. And I actually started filming while I was teaching with my students. It was like something that I would do to either help them learn something, or it was something to build morale for a big game coming up. And all of a sudden COVID hit and I had no more students to film with. So at that time, my daughter was 3 and my son was 6 months old. And my wife was in the healthcare system. So she was gone every day during COVID. And I was home with those two. And I was like, man, we have to keep our sanity somehow. So we started just making goofy videos. And throughout that time, our TikTok actually went to 1 million followers. And it was kind of crazy. And even then, though, I was like, this is just really cool. I still have my steady teaching job. It is what it is. And we just slowly over time continued to grow and grow and grow until finally in September of 2021. I had 4 million on TikTok and only 8,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I said, my wife sat me down. We looked at our finances and she was like, why don't you just give it a shot? See what you can do. See if we can make it full time. And I said, are you sure? So after 15 years of teaching, I left. And almost 2 years later, we're at 9 million subscribers on YouTube. My wife is now working full time with me, and so is the whole fam. So it's been kind of a crazy ride to get here, but it's been awesome.
Yeah. And when you had your daughter, how did that just change your life, becoming a dad at that point?
I would say, I don't cry much in my life. And and I've never ever cried until I had my daughter. Happy tears. I've seen movies where people, oh, they're crying happy tears. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And as soon as I saw my daughter, when she was born, I couldn't stop. The emotions that came over me when she was born was just uncontrollable and just an unbelievable feeling. And from that moment, I was thinking, while my wife was pregnant, okay, this is how it's going to be. It's going to be great. And I had no idea. And she was born. And from that day, it was just something where I love that. I definitely, you can't describe it. You have to have kids or a daughter, in order to actually feel that. I'm truly in love with my wife, but that love for your child is something that's on another level.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I totally feel that. And then when Audrey was born, did you prep beforehand? Did you have a camera in the room at that time?
We actually, yeah. So we had the room all ready to go. It was a crazy story. So we were super prepared parents. This was our first kid, and we got this thing. I forget what it was called, but it was this device where you put it underneath the mattress, and it's supposed to monitor the baby's heart rate, the breathing, and if something goes below a certain level, an alarm goes off. And it's like, oh, the baby's, not doing good. So my wife and I, we had literally just gotten home from the hospital. and daughter's sleeping in the bed, and she's got this little monitor. Well, like at 1 a.m, it just starts blaring, like, oh, and we're like, oh my gosh, what is happening? We ran, and she just didn't weigh enough for it to actually hit the mattress.
Yeah.
So it was just like, that was just a funny story where I was like, oh my, we threw that thing in the garbage, and we were like, okay, there are no rules with parenting. It's like
Yeah.
what you can do that makes your, work for your family will work for your family. I'm the type of guy where somebody comes and asks me for advice on parenting. First thing I say is like, you can listen to what I have to say, but ultimately it's what works best for you. So
Yeah. And I try to read up on different parenting advice or different dad blogs and that kind of stuff, but you have to just kind of figure out what works for you, like you said.
yeah,
And there's so much concern, as a parent. You think about your kids, you want what's best for them. You think about all these like different worry scenarios, but ultimately, like, they tend to do all right. Like, I think sometimes we over worry. I know, like, when we brought our first daughter home, and just like constantly like getting up in the middle of the night and like checking on the cradle, be like, okay, she's still there, like she's still good, she's breathing and stuff. And like, you just think about them so much, and you don't want anything bad to happen. But then now that we have like our third, it's like, okay, like we've been through this before, they're okay. Like, make sure blanket's not covering their face, or at that time when they're super young, like you shouldn't have a blanket
right.
in the cradle. Um but you're like, okay, we're doing it. Like, so many other people have been before you, they made it work. Without all
So
these parenting books and podcasts and stuff, like, decades ago, and it still happened. So yeah, that's great.
yeah, I tried to stay away from like reading too much stuff. It was more like I wanted to like be prepared with all the things that we thought we needed. But as far as like parenting style and all that stuff, it was more, just my wife and I have, we have the same beliefs and morals. And, I was comfortable not having to go read that stuff, which there's nothing wrong with that. But that was just me. It was like, you know what? I don't want to be swayed one way or the another. If I have a question while I'm doing it, then maybe I'll go
Yeah.
look, which I do, but yeah, and you're spot on with the second kid. And especially, do you have three girls?
Yeah, I have three now. Yeah, three
Okay, so
girls.
I have a girl and I have a boy, my son. And not only is it different with the second kid, like you're a little bit more relaxed, like, yeah, you're fine. But it's also different between a boy and a girl with a dad, at least for me. Like my
Yeah.
daughter, I mean, she has me wrapped around her finger. Like I do anything. And I, with my son, he still has me wrapped around his finger, but I'm definitely like, you're a second kid. It's
Yeah.
a different thing.
Yeah. And then with the video and stuff that you took at the hospital, did you immediately like put it together in like home movie kind of thing um to
No.
memorialize that stuff?
Immediately, no. I was exhausted.
Sure.
Especially with Audrey. My wife had a lot of like Audrey came out super healthy, but my wife came out with, some physical things that needed to be fixed and all that stuff. So we had a little bit of a rough go for about 6 months after
Yeah.
Audrey was born. And then maybe I can't remember the exact time frame. And even at that time Audrey was born, I wasn't really making videos or doing things like that, or just for fun at home. So it was just something that came with time.
Okay. Yeah, I know, like when you're kind of planning, like as a dad, you're like, okay, well, I don't have like necessarily the physical recovery that my wife does, but then you have like the paternity leave, which I think is amazing. But it's not like a vacation. And I kind of went into it like, oh, well, I've got a couple weeks, like I can get this done, I could do this. It's like, no, like that's the wrong mentality. And so anyone that's like gone through it, or like preparing to go through it, like I would definitely say that it's not like a vacation. Don't think of it as like all
No,
this time, because like, yeah, you're up in the
it
middle of
is.
the
It is
night.
the worst vacation ever. No.
Oh yeah.
No. I mean those first 3 months, man, you're in the trenches,
Yeah.
so it's like you gotta do what you gotta do to survive. You gotta switch, you gotta get sleep where you can, and
Yeah.
it's just like, and then finally when you're at that 3 month mark, and you're like, oh my goodness, you get that first smile from the baby, and you're like, oh,
Oh,
okay,
that's the best. Yeah.
let's start it over again. Let's do it.
Yeah. And then yeah, just having that time too, just to be present. And like I was like, oh man, I gotta do all these things, even if it's just as simple as like doing stuff around the house. Like um sometimes it's nice just to remind yourself just to like settle, especially with the first baby. Just everything's gonna change. So just getting to that point where you're just settling. Um, but yeah, as you transitioned away from teaching, dedicating full time, which is amazing, to this, um, being able to do your channel and have your whole family involved. I love the videos where like I see your kids and they're smiling and laughing and dad's chasing them around and you have like the funny characters and the costumes that you put on. Can you think back, what was can you remember the first video that you ever posted?
With Audrey, or
Yeah.
just, yeah, geez, I used to do like a video specifically for social media that I did with her. It was I started out with this like little shtick where Audrey would just like at the end just bash dad, like she would just destroy it. So like I think it was something like, hey Audrey, one of my videos went viral on TikTok, and she was 3 at the time, and she was like, oh, maybe you'll do better next time. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, your TikToks, they stink. And it was like a cute way she said it, and it clicked with everybody. And I kind of rolled with that for a little while. And then the one that actually blew up, there was 2, and she was 3.5, I think. One was a magic trick that I did with her, where she said, hey dad, you want to see a magic trick? And I said, sure kiddo. And she says, close your eyes. And she hit me over the head with a bat, and I fall down. She goes, abracadabra daddy. And I think that one went viral in the US and in India, and it had like 100 million views, and it was insane. That kind of got us our start there. The content that we do is like, we're not your normal family like vlog. I like to take those trends that are trending with like families and then put a complete spin on it, where it's a little bit like with my sense of humor and sarcasm. So, and my she's exactly like me. I think that's a good thing, but she's got the same sense of humor. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a little bit dark comedy
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
it
Absolutely.
definitely has that twist where it maybe starts out sweet, but then there's like some kind of twist
Yeah,
and
there's always
some
a
funny
twist.
reveal kind of thing.
Usually I get the short end of the stick. So,
That's great. And then how do you come up with the content? How much of that is just from your own brain? How much do you involve your kids in coming up with ideas and stuff?
up until about 3 or 4 months ago, 100% is from this crazy mind up here. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Audrey got really interested in coming up with video storylines. And so I would
Great.
sit with her, and she would tell me, I would write them down, and then I make sure that I'm able to do them. So I just put a little bit of finishing touches on them so that she can feel accomplished and good about herself. But I just seeing her really interested in it, really, it's pretty cool to see.
That's great. What's been like the most challenging part of being a dad, trying to grow your YouTube channel and I think it's amazing that if you're able to get revenue from that kind of stuff. But yeah, you took a leap in that. And then yeah, being a full-time dad too, like, any parent, like, you're full-time parent, but then you're also trying to balance everything else.
I'll talk about the great things first about doing this, what I do, and balancing that as a dad. Like, it's not your normal 9 to 5 job. So I do have the ability to be around my daughter every day in the summer, or like me and my wife, we switch off volunteering at lunch at her school, every other week. we're really, really involved. And the reason why we're able to be this involved is completely because of what I do for a living. I'm able to put things off for a little bit. I'll still have to get to them. But if my daughter said, "Hey, Dad, I want," for instance, after I have my podcast with you, she talked me into taking her to Target, even though I have a million other things to do. I can take a half hour, 45 minutes out of my day because of this. So that's been super cool. The things that are super tough is I'm supporting my entire family, with what I do. And I think the toughest thing is that I have like, everybody thinks there's a big production crew and everything when you get as big as I am. And like every once in a while, we'll have somebody in to help. But I would say 95% of the time, I'm the writer, I'm the producer, I'm the editor, I'm the finance manager, I'm everything. So I have all of
Yeah.
these. I'm the brand deal guy, and I'm all of these things. And trying to find enough hours in the day to get everything done that I need to do is something that I'm still working on. I'm the type of guy that, and it's different for everybody, but I'm the type of guy, if I get a task, I gotta get it done. Like I can't put that aside. But I will say that being a dad has definitely helped me put things to the side and not get as stressed about it, because ultimately I'm doing this for my kids and for my
Yeah.
wife. And what good is it if I can't enjoy them too? I don't want to just work and not see them. So I'm utilizing that part of being a social media influencer is, you know what? No, this is going to give me that time and my wife that time to spend that one-on-one time with our kids or family time. And, as hard as my job is, I wouldn't change it for the world just because I have these opportunities.
Yeah, I love that. Just like finding your reason for doing it, like, because it's so easy to kind of get caught up in like this quest for more money or trying to follow trends or different things. And there's always more hours that you can pour into something like this. But at the end of the day, it's like, no, this is also an outlet to give me the opportunity to reinvest in my family, to be able, like, I loved how we had an interview scheduled and you're like, oh well, I've got this opportunity to take my kid on a field trip and be a chaperone for the day, which I think is amazing. I was like, absolutely, like go do those kinds of things. And the nature of the kind of remote podcast interview is like, it's great. It's allowed people to be able to be flexible around their schedules. So yeah, I totally agree with like prioritizing your family, and then getting opportunities that you probably wouldn't have with like kind of a regular job, to
Yeah,
be plugged
absolutely.
in ways that other parents may not have the opportunity to. But yeah, you've involved your kids so much in the videos, which is great. They seem to really enjoy it. From just the reactions I see like in the videos of them laughing and just having a great time. Um, what do you see as like the long-term goal, or like where do you see just this whole business in 10 years? Do you think there's a point where um like as your kids become teenagers and stuff um like they'll have a disinterest in being involved in the videos and things?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I mean, 10 years from now, I highly doubt a then 17-year-old Audrey is gonna say, "Dad, can I hit you over the head with a bat?" So, like I highly doubt that. She loves it right now. And even if like today she said, "Dad, I'm done. I don't like it," we would end the whole thing. Yeah, I don't care what it is, but like that's my wife and I. We've always said that from day one. Once I decided to do this full time, but it's been super cool because both my kids love filming. They enjoy it, and like even when the cameras are off, like I'm still chasing them just like I do.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like no different, but they get to see a finished result of like what we actually do on a day-to-day basis. So that's cool. But the long term,
Yeah.
you know, I'm we're working on a whole lot of things. Like as we are growing and growing and growing, we're always trying to find a way to capitalize on our popularity. And I don't want to do this forever, that's for sure. So, there's things in the works. Um, we're working on possible cartoons and TV shows, and what I do, not many people have the ability to do, and I'm saying that because my mind is extremely weird. Every one of those skits is me, and every edit is me. I do see this in, creating other opportunities just personally for me. I think that's my end route is how do I sunset out of where I'm at here
Yeah,
into a position where I can still financially support using these talents. But it will almost always all be on me, where my daughter and my son won't even be involved. So I think that's the ultimate goal is capitalizing on this to a point where I can do something solo.
that's great. Yeah, I love talking to other creative dads because it's just a different mindset. And I work in a creative industry. I work in video production. But my first podcast guest, Lonnie Anderson, he's kind of known as the king of Valentines. So every year for Valentine's, he makes like these crazy elaborate Valentines for his wife and gets on the news and stuff like that. And he does that, completely just pouring his own heart and money into all that kind of stuff. But he works in advertising, and he's like, I've gotten more gigs from the Valentines because they're like, oh, you're the Valentine's guy. And it's just like, you do something that you love, and you do something that you love for the people that you love, and it just pays back like
Absolutely.
tenfold. So, um, now on the flip side of all of that, do you have you gotten like any like kind of negative reaction from the stuff that you put out? Like what would you say to any like
All the time.
critics
I mean,
of
I don't need, we get I mean, tens of thousands of comments a week. I don't read them all. But like when we first started out, that was kind of my shtick, was like somebody would say I don't know if you watch my stuff, but I throw my son. I
yeah.
toss him in, and I have a stunt
Yeah, that's
double
a
for him.
recurring gag is you've got the stunt
Yeah,
double kid.
yeah. But
Yeah.
for some reason, people can't understand that it's actually not real. Or people will think that I'm setting a bad example because now other parents are possibly going to toss their children in the air too. And my response back from day one when I started this, and it was actually a video that blew up for us and made us kind of where we are today, is Audrey saying it's just a joke, Karen. And we call them Karens. And that's how I responded to it. And I never directly respond to any one comment. So like if there's
Yeah.
if I happen to see a few on there where it's like, how could you do that? I'll make a video actually with my sarcasm responding to that in my own way. But yeah, I mean, I would say 99% of comments are all supportive. And then there's that 1%. It's just the way people are. People
Yeah.
sometimes just want to be
Yeah,
mean.
everyone has different sensitivities, and even if they don't quite get the humor or whatever, but yeah, it's hard. You're never going to get 100% fans. But that goes back to just like you have to find the reason that you're doing it for yourself and feel comfortable with the stuff that you're putting out, that it makes you proud, it makes your family proud, your kids proud, and like kind of hold on to those things. It's not that like we can't change. Like, we the way that I see things now is different than 5 years ago before I had kids. But yeah, it's something that like, we're all evolving. You can't always just dwell on the past kind of stuff. And then you can't always just like try to please everyone. But yeah.
Absolutely. Like with what I do, if you can't let things just roll off your back, you're never gonna, I mean, you're just gonna
Yeah.
insane. If you read, I don't even read the comments, as much. I read
Yeah.
as many as I can, but when I come across a negative one, I don't even, it just rolls
Yeah.
off my back.
That's the same thing in parenting too. Like people have different perceptions of like what like how you should act in a grocery store or different things like that. Like sometimes my kids are like holding on to the sides of the cart and I'm like, okay, like I'm watching them. I know they're safe. Like some people might have like different comments about that, but
You
it's
should
like,
go to the store with me,
yeah.
man. I'm, I'm the guy running on the cart with the kids on the cart, sliding through the
Oh
aisles.
yeah.
That's me. I think the like you said though, I mean, everybody has their own styles, and I think that if you're confident in them, and
Yeah.
you're not like putting anybody in danger
Yeah.
or all of that, put that stuff aside. Just like don't be ashamed of who you are. It's as a person, as a parent. Like if your kids are happy, healthy, provided for, and loving life, you're doing something right. And
Yeah.
that doesn't how you parent them.
Yeah. And I think those values too, like translate to your kids. Like I love just the confidence that you have to be like, yeah, this is me. This is my brain. It's a little weird maybe and stuff, but this is how I think. Um, but like seeing that in your kids too, where like you mentioned Audrey is like coming up with ideas and she's like proud of who she is. She has the confidence to be like, yeah, like I don't care what other people think. And I think as like our kids grow up, they become women in the workforce or at home or in just different areas of life. And they're like, hey, this is what I believe here. This is who I am, and not afraid to like just speak their mind. I think that that's a great thing.
Absolutely.
And then yeah, so I also wanted to ask, like, because now you've reached 9 million on YouTube, and then TikTok, I imagine, is even more, and there's
We
Instagram,
have
all these different areas.
6 million on TikTok and then 9 on YouTube.
Oh, okay. Um, so yeah, have your kids become like local celebrities? Like, do
We've
their
become
friends, what are their friends think and stuff?
It's been, yeah. We're recognized nationally. So like even when we go on vacations, we get stopped and asked for pictures and autographs. And so that's very cool. It's locally I mean, everybody at Audrey's school knows Audrey, and the YouTuber, and they know me when I go pick her up and all that stuff. And well, if she loves it, if she didn't love people coming up to her, that would never happen. But
Yeah,
it's funny to watch. She actually enjoys when people come up to her and ask for her autograph, and she's super shy at first, and then she breaks out to who she is. But you know, with all that said, like we are recognized in all over the country. We're recognized in all over the world, actually. And I think what's cool though is that me and my wife make it so that she doesn't even realize it, how
mhm.
popular she is, and that's our goal from day one. Like,
Yeah,
we put her in school where we have her do extracurricular activities. We let her teachers know beforehand, like, we don't want this to cause any disruptions in your class. And every teacher so far that she's had has said, no, when she's in this school, in this room, she's just Audrey. She's not
great.
Audrey,
Yeah,
the YouTube star. And her friends have, welcomed her, and it's just been a really cool thing to see. And so I think that we've been able to so far, I don't know how it's going to be 5 years from now, but so far balance that popularity that we have with our letting our kid be a kid. And but with that said, she does, when she goes out, she does expect it sometimes. When we're walking in the mall, she'll see people and she'll be like, yeah, they want to come over, Dad. I know they want to come over. Okay.
cool. Yeah, well, I love that you just, like you said, let kids be kids and um just enjoying some of that fame, like kind of be proud of like, hey, I'm on YouTube and stuff. I think that that's also cool, uh but yeah, just prioritizing like, when you're at school,
Yeah,
you're in school to learn, you're in school to make friends.
and
Um
yeah, it carries over. Like a lot of people in our position with what we do at the size we are will actually take their kids out of school. They'll have them do virtual school. They'll have a film schedule and all this stuff. My wife and I, we made a point from day one. We're not moving to LA. We're always going to stay close to family. We're going to keep the kids in school. And like when weekends come during, unless there's something that pops up, we're doing family time and family stuff together. So I think that that's the biggest thing. We do not want Audrey to ever have to go through any of the horror story stuff you hear of child like stars and things like that. So we're trying to keep her as grounded as possible at all times.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And that still goes back to your why, like just being a dad, looking out for your kids and all that. And then just being a girl dad, like how has that like changed your perspective? And yeah, what has been most challenging raising daughters?
Wow.
And
I
then
mean,
maybe like, yeah, the other blessing of that too.
yeah, I don't know if you, I mean, there is just something about a dad-daughter relationship that is insanely special and unique. And I think that the biggest challenge for me as Audrey grows up and gets older and older is constantly working on it, my ability to not cave when I see those beautiful eyes pout or cry or want something. Like that is my biggest challenge as a dad right now is like, okay, I want my daughter to learn lessons in life. I want her to be independent. I want her to make her own decisions. I don't want her to be given every single thing. And so like as a dad of a daughter though, your daughter wants something, you want to give it to your daughter.
Yeah,
You
of course.
want to see that girl smile. Luckily, I have a really strong wife who helps, and we really work well together. Prior to what my wife works with me now, but prior the roles were completely switched. My wife was a vice president of sales and marketing at a firm or a tech company, and she was the breadwinner, and I was the teacher that would come home and get all the things ready for my daughter and wash the bottles, do all those things. And I think because we have that dynamic, even though that is something that I'm continuously working on, I have a really strong female in there as well that's helping to show Audrey, how to become that independent woman as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And like she's got a great example in her mom too of like, strong woman, creative woman, and then the support from you. What would be your like dream for her or like a lesson that you'd like want to impart for her?
I think that, I mean, this is something that number one, I want her to be happy, healthy, and successful in whatever she does, and independent. So like if I'm sitting in my rocking chair with my wife, after Audrey moves out and we can talk about how good she's doing on her own, I've succeeded in my mind where it's like we've done our job and we'll always be here still. Like if she ever needs us, but like she can function properly in the world successfully and happy. I think the biggest thing, and it's something that I did even now, is I want my daughter and my son, but I want my daughter to do in life what makes her truly happy. I don't ever want her to feel forced to have to do something because she doesn't want to hurt somebody's feelings in the family. Like I got to do this, or all my friends are doing this. Like the one thing that I learned, I chose to be a teacher because I loved that career. Like I was like, this is me. This is truly me. And I knew when I got that job, I was not going to be a millionaire. Like I was like, I am not getting into a career. But I tell you, every single day for 15 years, yeah, there were days I woke up and didn't want to go. Every single day, though, I actually did love what I did for a living, And when I switched to what I do now, not only was that another passion and dream, despite the huge amounts of work and stress and anxiety this brings, like it's one of the things that makes me the happiest to be able to do this as well. And I think that once, all of the, I want you to have good morals and, follow the rules and do all this stuff. But like ultimately, kiddo, I want you to just be happy. I want you to be happy in life, not just, at work, with your partner, with, everything. I just want you to be happy and do what makes you happy.
Yeah, I think that's so important, just to find something that you're truly passionate about and that brings you joy, and then find ways to supplement that. Like we do all have things that we have to do that maybe not want to do, but when you find something, especially in a career like teaching or like being creative or whatever, if you can find something that also like pays the bills but keeps you energized every day, I think is just such a great gift.
Absolutely.
Now, I have one final question, but I wanted to just give you the floor of any other like words of advice or thoughts or reflections. Just, yeah, anything else that you think I might have missed.
I don't think you missed anything. I think that if you're listening to the podcast for parenting advice or being a dad with a girl, I just want, everybody and this is my opinion. This is not, set in stone or anything, that like when people come and ask, or they say, even when they say they don't want to have kids, like, I think that that's one of the biggest things that hurts people's feelings. Is like, you expect people, I don't know how many people have come up to you before you had kids, but they're like, you've got to have a baby.
Yeah.
Like it's not for everybody. But I will tell you that, and that's okay. So if you're listening to this and this podcast and you don't have kids and you're still living your best life, like that is okay. And then on the flip side of things, like for me, best thing that ever happened to me, like, is having my daughter and then having my son. Like those are the three things. My third is marrying my wife, but like it is completely life-changing. And it's something that no podcast or book or Google search can ever show you what the definition of what does it feel like to have a daughter, what does it feel like to have a son. And that's okay too. Like that's up to you. For you, it's your own personal journey to have that. And I think that if I was going to tell somebody that's listening to this any advice, I would say just do you. Do what works for you. Don't let somebody come in unless you ask for it. Don't let somebody come in and tell you how to parent or what's good for your daughter, or you're there 24/7 with your kids, or the majority of the time. And it is up to you to decide what works for you, what works for your daughter, and all those other outside influences, all those other outside pressures, keep them at bay. Unless you want to invite that in, my advice is keep that at bay and do what works for you.
I love that. And I totally agree with that. I do this podcast because I love being a dad. I love talking to other people who love being dads as well, and having girls specifically too. But at the same time, like exactly like you said, maybe not is for everyone. And I totally get that. And it's like, this is what brings me joy. And in other, different people have different situations. It's not everyone like is called to that. And that's totally cool too. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Absolutely.
And then my final question, and I ask all of my guests this: think of Audrey specifically, and I like to ask my guests to leave a special message directly for their daughter.
Wow. Is this message supposed to be like for my 7-year-old Audrey or for my 27-year-old Audrey? What is it, for present day or is it
That's a
future?
good question. Yeah, this will come out probably a couple weeks. And yeah, so it
All
could
right.
be for now. I've had dads say like, "Oh, if this is for now, then I need you to clean your room." Like I was just
uh,
there this morning and it's a mess. Or it could be like sort of a time capsule kind of thing. So yeah.
I guess I think Audrey, if I could say something to you, it would be first, thank you for making me the happiest man in the world. Being a dad to you has changed my life for the better. And I promise that from the moment, before you've listened to this message from me to you and for the rest of our lives, I will always be here for you to support you and be your cheerleader and your coach and your mentor and anything you need. Dad is always going to be here. And I am so proud of you for the young girl you are right now and the young woman that you're going to become. You are so independent. You are so smart, so beautiful. You have so many tools right now to make just such an amazing life. And I'm so excited to watch what you do. And clean your room. Okay, go.
Kevin, thank you so much. Oh, that was beautiful. I love that. So yeah, it's so great talking to you. Thank you so much for this time. And yeah, I want to tell people like where they can find you. So yeah, do a shout out for your channels. Where can people connect with you?
Yeah, hit YouTube, and TikTok, we're the McCartys. So all you gotta do is Google us or go onto the search engine, just type in the McCartys and you will find us, or go to Instagram, we're the McCarty fam over there. But come on with us. We're almost to 10 million on YouTube, so come for that journey with us.
Awesome. And then all of my listeners at Girl Dad Nation, thank you so much for journeying with me. You can find me on Instagram at GirlDadNation. I'm also on Twitter/X. And then I'm also starting to put these podcasts on YouTube as well. So that's YouTube. Look for Girl Dad Nation Podcast. So I hope to eventually put more of these interviews in video form there as well. And you can also send me an email directly at girldadnationpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much. And until next time, as my 4-year-old says, see you later, crocodile.
Ai phải giờ đây?